Good evening, my dear friends, viewers. Namaste, Vanakkam. Been waiting for this wonderful Saturday evening all the time, and like me, I'm sure all of you are waiting to, meet and greet and talk to a special guest who has always been visiting the Alert Town Hall, rightly taglined "Where Life Matters." So, in that series, we have with us today, as you would have all followed us on the social media, a very interesting, inspiring, dynamic, IAS officer, Dr. Santhosh Babu with us. Dr. Santhosh Babu actually doesn't need any introduction, but still it is my pleasure, honor to give a brief, formal introduction to Dr. Santhosh Babu. He wears many hats, and I was going through his profile and on his website and all that. Really amazed at what he has done and what he envisions to do in the future. So, very brief introduction before I bring Dr. Santhosh Babu. Dr. Santhosh Babu is currently the Principal Secretary, Chairman, Managing Director, Tamil Nadu Handicrafts Development Corporation. Dr. Santhosh Babu is a medical doctor turned Indian Administrative Service IAS officer of the 1995 batch of the Tamil Nadu cadre. He is an alumnus of the Government Medical College Trivandrum. He is also a Chevening Gurukul Scholar from the London School of Economics and Political Science, and an LKY Fellow and MPM degree holder from the National University of Singapore and the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. Very illustrious. And of many recognitions that has come his way, a few I will name: the Best Collector Award of the Government of Tamil Nadu for Child Labour Eradication, Dataquest Magazine E-Governance Champion Award South India, being recognized as the Pride of Tamil Nadu by the Indian Express, amongst many others. His best moment so far has been when the former President of India, Dr.APJ Abdul Kalam, quoted his work under the heading Committed Leadership in his speech on the occasion of the 7th National Civil Services Day, 21st April, at New Delhi. So I can go on. I really strongly urge our viewers to visit santhoshbabu.org to know more about him. He has about 150 to 200 plus initiatives to his credit, which have all been successful in reaching out and creating a massive impact. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Santhosh Babu. Dr. Santhosh Babu, welcome. It's wonderful to have you with us this evening.
அனைவருக்கும் வணக்கம். Good evening to all of you. Thank you, Mr. Rajesh, for that very nice introduction. I'm extremely happy that it was Dr. Mike Muralidharan, Chairman of Ediraj College, who introduced me to you. Extremely happy to touch base with you. A very dynamic person. As I see you, as I hear you, it's very inspiring to meet a person like you, because you are doing something very human. A thing about our people in medical emergencies, something which touches every heart, more so mine. That's why I'm intrigued to meet with you when this COVID thing is over. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Santhosh. I'm sure you would have had a busy day, busy schedule, and in spite of that, to join us for an hour. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation with you. Let me start off with, I'm sure you would have faced this question, but I was always curious to know one thing. You are actually a medical doctor turned into an IAS officer. I would love to know, and I'm sure many of our viewers would love to know, and our volunteers specifically, who are trying to look at, who are deciding their careers ahead and all that, which was plan A and which was plan B? It was medical doctor plan A or IAS officer plan A? How did it span out?
Actually, being a medical doctor was plan B, because my father brought this competition success review when I was in the third standard, maybe third standard or fourth standard, because competition success review is one magazine which brings out the triumphs, tribulations, travails of IAS officers and IPS officers, etc. Those who attempt civil service, etc. So that's the time when he injected this idea of civil services into me. So since then, it was always the talk about being in the IAS, etc. all the time. Whenever this topic comes up, but then you had to, have a plan B. So basically, my idea was to become an engineer first and then a doctor. So I went to Trivandrum Engineering College for computer science. For 2 months, I stayed there and then came to Trivandrum Medical College. So that's how it happened.
Very nice. It's nice to say though. Plan A was actually IAS, right? And then
That's right.
The plan B was medical. Wonderful. Both, not so easy to get into. And it's been. I'm sure you're a visionary right at that point, right from those days. As we speak, there are people joining us this evening, wishing you on the Facebook. And I would like to welcome all of them and strongly urge that I'm very sure Dr. Santhosh's wise words needs to reach many. So let me welcome people who are joining us this evening. Mr. Mike Muralidharan, the chairman at Alert, Ms. Kala Balasundaram, the founder, Mr. Karthik Venkateshan, Mr. Kumaravel CK from the co-founder of Naturals. He is watching us as we speak.
CK is my dear friend also.
Mr. Narendran
also.
Yes. D. Arun Kumar Bharati, welcome. Kishore Manohar is watching us as we speak. Mr. Venkatesh Kodandaraman, Mr. Srinivas Rao Madala, and Karthik Rajagopal. And I see wishes pouring in already. Mr. Kumaravel telling you, wishing you back, saying good evening and very happy to see Dr. Santhosh Babu, sir. And Mr. Mike, it is our pleasure that you have joined us at Alert Town Hall. So I'm very sure that this is going to be a fantastic evening to watch out for. Let me start off, Dr. Santhosh, with a very, maybe even a fundamental question, but I'm sure you sort of will throw more light on this. Generally, when we read about Dr. Santhosh and also read about your initiatives, it almost goes synonymous with IT and technology. Dr. Santhosh, IT and technology. But I'm going to park IT and technology for some time. And I also observe one more pattern in every department you have got into, that you have come to IT and technology, but that's not just been your start point. You always looked at transforming governance from the brick and mortar stage. So you sort of staunchly believe in transforming at all levels of governance. So how important are other aspects? I will come to technology, but I would love you to throw some light on other aspects starting from brick and mortar in bringing in transformation. So
I always feel very envious of these IT parks. A lot of these youngsters sit there in very wonderful environment. So I always wonder why government buildings and government interiors cannot be like inside can't be neat and clean. So that's something which intrigues me. That's something which inspires me. So wherever I go, I take this policy called edge to edge. So wherever I am in a physical jurisdiction, it has to be the cleanest in the world.
Okay.
So we'll start with the compound wall onwards. So that's how it goes in and to the interiors. And so I clean up the whole place, give it a new look and feel. Because the asset is not the physical assets. The assets are our human beings, our employees. So if you give them a very good environment, I think you can take the productivity to slightly higher, maybe 2-3% higher, which makes a huge impact. So I wherever possible, and it's always been possible. Money has never been a constraint. So people ask me where the money comes from. I said some file will have some money, so that doesn't really matter. If you have the intent, then you can actually give it a very nice feel and look. Very subtle kind of things inside, so that it gives a very classy look for everybody.
Right.
So that's the whole idea, to basically inspire our people into doing their best. Because our people sit in some of the worst environments. I don't know why government should be like this. Because we spend per capita more money than probably the private sector does. But we keep on tinkering with the brick and mortar as it were. But we can really make it very beautiful. That's my personal feeling. Yes.
Nice, very, very nice. And I wanted to sort of hear that from you because there has been a pattern in the way you bring about transformation. It starts off from actually grassroots. Even the bricks need to be transformed. That's the way I've really seen you bringing transformation. And of course, coming to technology now. These days, I think with COVID, technology has penetrated into everybody's life like never before. And we are all able to connect with each other and even stay connected because of that. But what do you think? And I don't think you are looking at technology as more for survival. So beyond survival, and I think probably the least technology can do is to help us survive. In all of your initiatives and projects, tech plays a very key role. And why that, where do you see that harnessing? Where does that lead us into in terms of good governance and stuff like that? So throw some light on your the tech component in all your initiatives.
So, see, I have this concept called design your day. So I go by the seconds and minutes, and I enjoy those moments. I don't look really too far. So it's basically trying to be smart with your time, because the only resource that Almighty has given us equally for every human being is the 24 hours. Food, air, water, everything is different, but 24 hours is equal to everybody. So how effectively you use the time is how you can define success, whatever success means to you. So for me, I would like to spend a lot of time with my family, my wife especially. So I work only between 10 and 5, 10 and 5:45, that's the government timings.
Okay.
So I try to make my work smart by clearing files while traveling. So I use ERP wherever I go. So all the last 25 years, I've used ERPs across, so that it reduces my time. So I have times for people and for everything and everybody when I get to office. I don't see files inside the office, unless that's an absolute necessity. But all my file clearance happens while I'm traveling from my house in Virudhumbakam to Secretariat or whichever place and back. Okay. So these are the two timings when I clear my file. So it's basically a question of working smart, because somebody's happiness, somebody's sorrow, somebody's enlightenment, whatever you call it, is inside a file. So whatever you have, you give it to government through a paper that's converted into file, etc. It takes a long time. For example, in Poompuhar, when I joined in 2014, we used to take around 30 to 40 days for a very ordinary procurement or a production decision. We have 24 locations across the country, right from Calcutta, Delhi, Bangalore. So now we do it under 30 minutes. That's because we are totally connected. So that's advantage of. So it's nothing. It's technology is but a tool. It's just like a violinist in the hands of a musician to make music. The tool itself is not so great, but the music is great. Lovely. So that's what we can do with technology. So if we can introduce technology wherever possible. For example, Poompuhar is one of the best in terms of technology. I don't think even the private sector will have kind of infusion of technology. Every aspect of governance is technology enabled. So when I was Principal Secretary IT, I was holding 7 charges. So what I used to do was put video conferencing everywhere in all the 7 offices, and then the ERP also, and same. There was no stress on me. So basically, you become happy. Somebody walks into your room, you're calm, you're not stressed, so you can give your best.
Lovely. The analogy that you made was super. The technology is as much a tool as a violin is in the hands of a musician. What matters is the music. And likewise, people adopting technology to deliver work more efficiently. I'm going back to pick one question from Mr. Kumaravel CK. I think he is. The question is from your earlier answer to the plan A, plan B of your medical and IAS plans. So his question is, what is that was when you were young? What is your plan A and plan B now?
CK is being very mischievous, so I can't tell. I mean, CK knows it much better. But obviously, I'm very passionate about governance, and I personally feel that we can improve it world-class levels, much like I do it individually. But individual, one-upmanship doesn't really matter. We need to make it a part of the system, make it sustainable. That's where mostly I fail because it's mostly champion-driven. I'm hyper on all this, but it's not. The successor may not do it. So those are the issues which intrigue me and also worry me, because it's very good to say that Santhosh Babu is very good at all this. But what about continuing with that process? So I feel that we can make governance world-class, and I have 2 premises on which I work. That is, if I'm a government servant paid to take care of people like you who are outside, then why should you ever visit a government office?
Wow.
The second question I ask is, if you are a citizen and government knows that you are born on this date, then why should you ever apply for anything? So these are 2 premises on which I've worked in the last 25 years. And we have come to some level of fruition on that. And I feel that, without talking too much of technology, because, everybody feels that, then they start thinking new with technology. That's not the idea. The idea is to use technology to ease the sufferings as aware of the ordinary citizens. See, for example, now the e-pass is there. So Tamil Nadu e-governance agents, my young colleague Santhosh Mishra introduced that, and quickly, lakhs of and millions of e-passes have been issued.
Right.
Now, had it been a manual process, it would have been difficult. So, but it should not be a one-off. The point I'm trying to say is that across all levels of governance, we can bring massive changes. So that, I take the example of the country called Estonia, where people just don't know about the government. They don't know where the government is. So they don't see government, but they feel the presence of the government. So that's the ultimate aim. CK and I talk a lot on this. I think he understands it. So I hope I have answered the question.
So beautiful. So beautiful. I mean, there are many things in what you said, actually. There's a lot of things in what you answered, and very specifically, the last statement that you made. Now, people should feel governance, and probably even not see the government, but feel governance. So, Dr. Santhosh, that sort of brings me to sort of ask. I know we have taken a lot of steps towards this vision of feeling governance, and you did speak about the example of Estonia. So in your own assessment and in your own mind, how far are we as a country, or even if you take Tamil Nadu as a state, have there already been steps taken, or are we in a design stage towards that, or how far are we in sort of realizing this beautiful dream of we need to feel governance and probably not even see the government?
So, basically, this happens in two ways. One is a very incremental way of, transformation. The other was transformational transformation, which means it's a big change. So in the last 10-20 years, we introduced a lot of technologies, a lot of things which citizens can go to common service center for that service and get the service, etc. But we can go much further, because today we have emerging technologies, artificial intelligence, machine language, AR, VR, blockchain, etc. So we introduced the Honorable Chief Minister was nice to announce 5 things for us, which was a Center of Excellence in Emerging Technologies. Santhosh Mishra is currently running it very well. Then he also announced the creation of a state family database, blockchain backbone for the entire Tamil Nadu, and something which I call a predictive governance, which I and Santhosh conjured it up. Predictive governance, which is what I was trying to explain, the 2 premises on which we work. Why should you ever apply? The problem with the government's databases is that my name can be spelled in as many different ways as there are departments. So you can't fix me as me. So the state family database will fix you one time, and every time they invoke the Makkal number, that's the citizen number which my predecessor had actually done, then your basic data will pop up. And other departments can only add to the database. So basically, there will be only one Santhosh Babu and only one Rajesh Trivedi and only one Mike Muralidharan, that kind of thing. Right now, I told you the example of the poor woman, she'll say, my name is Lakshmi, and our guys will take it as Lakshmi. Somebody will say it's a Lakshmi. So there are n number of ways in which they are telling the name. So this is an essential problem of governance. This is yet to be resolved, but my hope is that the state family database project, which is moving now, will take care of that. And then a blockchain backbone will give the truth mechanism, and to get into the different database of different vendors, of different technologies, of different everything. It's so difficult. So we try to use the API route and the blockchain route to establish contact with the different applications, so that when you apply for something, you don't apply. Basically, you don't apply. We say that your one-time entry of your Makkal number is good enough for us to tell that this person was born on this date, and now he needs a immunization after 6 months. After 5 years, he needs another. After 6 years, he needs a community certificate, native solvency certificate, etc. So all this will be delivered into your virtual vault, which you call the Makkal vault. That's the idea. So there's a Makkal number, there's a Makkal vault, and there's this blockchain backbone. The whole thing is based on what I call as a pyramid. At the bottom is the blockchain backbone and the state family database, and the top is the predictive governance. This is a very easily doable thing. It's nothing difficult. As I told you earlier, it's the people, processes, and technology. we are much behind in technology, I would say. But people and process also we can do. But people, getting people to adopt this would be the challenge. And that's where I find the biggest challenge, because every IAS officer, every IPS officer is a leader. Nobody would want to, tell them you do this. When everybody wants their own way of doing it. But I hope, one day government mandates these kinds of things. This shall be the method of, public citizen service delivery. This shall be the method. I mean, until that happens, it might be difficult, but we are all trying hard to get this done, because we owe it to ourselves. As an IAS officer, I go into these big companies on OMR, and I try to understand what they do. So I walked into Shell. Shell does $2 billion of transactions per day. And entire $2 billion is managed through Chennai. Can you believe that?
Wow.
Our boys and girls who are accounts, studied commerce, etc., are doing it. They're doing a world-class job. And I walked into PayPal. PayPal does $17,444 per second worldwide. Entire transaction is done through Chennai. Which means what? Which means we are missing out in government a lot of world-class work. So basically, I would imagine, as CK said, next 5 years, next 10 years, world-class governance. That's what I think we are capable of it. We are very much capable of it. But we need to move transformationally, not incrementally.
We need to move transformationally and not incrementally. It's so exciting to hear these wonderful initiatives and ideas you're sharing, and the Makkal vault and the Makkal number. Dear viewers, just imagine we sort of see a day where we actually do not need to visit or apply for something that probably should have been automatically taken care of. Isn't it sounding so exciting? And and listening to Dr. Santhosh, it's an absolute possibility, and I'm so glad you sort of explained to us how it is possible. We could think about certain possibilities, but we need those structures and designs that can take us there. And of course, the leadership of people like you. The last note that you finished with is the people. Right. Of course, I think sure all of our viewers, all of us cannot be in more of an agreement about how difficult people transformation is, right? So taking people along is probably the biggest challenge in this whole thing, right? So what are some of the things that you adopt, Dr. Santhosh? And because you sort of kickstart a lot of initiatives towards transformation, and I'm sure you are adept at bringing in people also embrace this in the whole journey. How do you do that? How do you go about doing that?
Yeah. So I'll give you the example of Poompuhar. When I joined in 2014, it was a very pretty small, ordinary organization. Files there, here, people working here and there, very shabby looking. Generally, I have a think tank meeting right in the first hour of joining any organization, because I feel that we should be a good listener. I would say that before we compel anybody to do something big, we need to understand the organization. So when an IAS officer joins a new organization, even the peon knows better than him, because they have been there inside the system. Whereas you're just walking and you can't give commands. So you need to listen to them. So I listen to everybody. Anybody who wants to say anything can say that day. And every month we used to have this kind of meetings. Even these days we keep meeting people. Nobody should have a grievance, personal, family, any grievance can be told, and if it's possible, we can handle it. So that gives a confidence. And there are a lot of low-hanging fruits. Many things which have not been done by predecessors, etc. Okay, bring the file, just sign it. Blindly, don't even look at it, because it's not going to be a shattering. But for them, it's a big morale booster. So do that. Listen to them. For example, my driver was telling me, sir, after this, Mr. Boss, who was an IAS officer, who had this huge vision and built this double-story building with a cellar, etc. Nothing more has been added to the infra. People are sitting in the cellar. They are in a dusty environment. Even though air conditioning is there, why can't we build a couple of more floors, etc., etc., etc. Like, gave a lot of ideas. So this is Mr. Suhusay, who's my driver. And then I converted into a 2.5 crore project.
Wow.
I applied to government because I didn't get money. So when I applied to NABARD, I got a loan of 2 crores. And then we constructed. So we can offices. Purely his idea. It's not my idea. But you subsume ideas of all the officers in the organization. Anybody. So we talked to the women. They wanted a women's room. The drivers wanted a separate room. Everything we have provided within the organization. So then in that particular meeting itself, I said, you're selling handicrafts, but you're doing it through showrooms, 15 showrooms, 12 showrooms, and then 250 exhibitions. That's it. Why can't we do embellish the airports, etc.? So there was a muffled laughter. I could understand that because it's not been done before. But I call this a conspiracy of thoughts. You want to do something, and a lot of people will join you. So I was sitting sitting in the room, and in walks an architect, a senior architect. She says, "Sir, I'm Roop Anand. I'm a senior architect. Sir, why can't we the airports and all?" After 1 week or maybe 15 days, in walks the director of the airport himself and says, "Please do something for my airport." I was shocked, shell-shocked. I mean, and this has been my experience throughout. When you want to do something and you vision it, things fall into place. And today, if it's all good, it's done by me. If it's not good, it's done by somebody else. But we did one airport, and rest of the 7 airports in South India were done by my team. I had only role of signing the files, ERP files. I had absolutely no role. For example, Narendra Bose, who sits in Coimbatore, he did the Chennai Coimbatore airport. The linchpins have been young smart boys. Ronald's guy, very ordinary. He's an assistant, but he's good at computers, so used those things. Everybody has some talent. The whole idea for leadership is to bring out those talents. That's right.
Right. So as we speak, Dr. Santhosh, I'm going to just looking at people who are watching us again on the FB Live. We have Miss Aruna Subramaniam watching us. Welcome, Miss Aruna from the Bhumika Trust. Mr. AVM K. Shanmugam, thank you, sir, for joining us this evening. And Mr. Rajan Chinnaraj, Lokesh Gautam Subramanian, Miss Sujaya Menon, and many more. Actually, I just see that I see a lot of wishes pouring in, Dr. Santhosh. So let me go back to a question on I see that one of the challenges specifically in governance one faces, and somebody asked Dr. Kalam, how do you ensure that no negativity touches you? He said it comes from years of building a brand around yourself, and it comes out of years of building it. And if I may ask, how much of being a brand, not only as a person, I think even Poompuhar, if you take for that example, you build a brand. How much of being a brand is a plus, and to what extent it is a plus, and does it sometimes even become a slight worry factor after a point?
I'm not sure whether I am myself a brand, but Poompuhar definitely is the brand. But consciously, you don't build a brand. I don't know whether that's a great thing. I think by brand, I think you mean reputation. So reputation travels fast. So even before you join a new organization, people know what kind of animal you are.
Right.
So that travels fast. So if your integrity is good, if you're good with people, etc., that travels. But if you try to build that brand, then you will get lost in that. So the primary purpose of you being there is to give leadership, not to self-aggrandize, which is what happens when sometimes this can get into our heads. I do a lot of Facebook thing because I feel that this is worth branding, and because I'm putting it, people associate it with me. But the idea is not me to brand. The idea is to ensure that this goes out, and because the reputation, people also believe that okay, this guy is telling something which is truthful, and so it carries that value. So I think personal branding, I think that in itself is an exercise, because there are a lot of politicians, there are a lot of IAS officers, etc., who have personal brand managers, not branch managers, brand managers for whom they pay and get that. But I think that would be a very artificial thing for anyone to do, because ultimately in a crisis is where the leadership really emerges, and then you'll be found lacking. Right. So I personally feel that the brand, if it happens, okay, this guy is a very honest guy, he's good at technology, this, etc. It goes with it is good, but don't consciously try to build it. because then you lose a lot of time and energy and money on this.
Right.
Whereas your thought should be on what you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's but building a brand for the organization, absolutely yes. I very, very consciously try to do that because for these kind of organizations, branding is so critical.
Right.
And Poompuhar, not my work, but the work of my predecessors, it's become a household name. So what I try to do is to try and piggy ride on that brand name and improve it drastically.
Right.
That's the advantage of branding.
Right. As you once again take the reference of Poompuhar, I have a comment here from the founder of Alert, Ms. Kalam Balasundaram, saying, I recently visited Poompuhar after years and I was so pleasantly surprised at the quantum jump in the experience I had. The air conditioning, service, overall display, everything was fabulous, and she's thanking you for bringing in these changes, Dr. Santhosh. We spoke about a brand now. It sort of takes me to another question from one of our viewers, Mr. Venkatesh Kodandraman. He's asking, I have seen you mentioning about integrity integrity and value systems.
Venki.
Yeah, I have seen you mentioning about integrity and value systems. So sort of, can you convey your views on the role of integrity and value systems in our daily work, and specifically when it comes to governance that will impact many people?
So, see, what is leadership? For me, leadership is communicating a compelling aspiration. How do you do that? By the force of your personality, I think, because the values you carry, your integrity, all that is important. Now, if you don't have integrity, people see through it and they will just obey because it's a command from a superior. But the constitution is what you go by.
Mm-hmm.
You're appointed by the constitution, appointed by the government to ensure that things are done for the people. The poorest portion is very, very critical. And the service is so ensure that things are done for the onwards. You're put in a very high stage of responsibility, and then you see lots of files in which there is a lot of money. So you get corruption is like drugs. Many years back, they say no the first time, every time, because you can get tempted. People at home, the wife is very important. If she is very tempting, then you had it. If the children are like that, it's very. So you need also to ensure that you keep your requirements minimum.
Mm-hmm.
So I keep saying that man is born and he has only two parts.
Uh-huh.
One is as a taker. Till the man or woman is on his or her economic feet, he's a taker. He or she's a taker. Take money, take love, take affection, take everything. But that taking is a preparation for the next phase of life, which is giving.
Wow.
Which is where people don't realize that 99% of your time, your waking time, you're actually spending for others.
Right. So
I keep saying this example of the hairdresser. The hairdresser doesn't cut his own hair. He cuts somebody's hair.
Right.
The dentist doesn't pluck his own tooth. He plucks somebody else's tooth. The doctor doesn't treat himself. He or she treats somebody else. So 99%, except we're having food and wearing a good dress, etc. 99% of your time you're doing for somebody else. So why don't you do it with alarm? Why don't you do it with a lot of purpose?
Right.
And the incidental thing that you get back is your salary. But the massive changes that you can bring into the lives of people is astounding. It's amazing. You have seen this COVID season, how doctors have gone to the front lines, forgetting their lives, forgetting the risk to their family, everything, and work for people.
Mm-hmm.
And this should not be accentuated now. I keep saying that at no point you should think about yourself. So that I keep saying, a life without expectations. You should have expectations for others. The absolute common weal should be your expectation. This is for leaders. I keep giving the example of the Titanic captain. Who knew the ship was going down, but he was calm. He let out people who could be let out. He knew he was going down. That's leadership for me. It's a very selfless kind of life, and Everybody can be like that. For example, if you're running alert, it's not about you. It's about volunteers. Then it's about getting medical emergencies done. Those are the thoughts. But money is needed. Obviously, money is needed for running the organization, for your family to be run, etc. But beyond a point, as Gandhiji said, greed cannot be taken care of, but your needs can be taken care of by any organization. It can be government, can be NGO, it can be private sector, it can be your entrepreneurship, it can be a startup, it can be anything. But I keep telling the startups also, when you dream big, it's because you're dreaming of a product or a process or a patent or a service for somebody else.
Right.
Make it world class. But what you get is very, very incidental. What will you do with that, all that kind of money? It doesn't help you. So if you go with that premise, I think life can be very contented, calm, composed, happy for others. So I think that's the way we have to live our lives. In this COVID season, taught us that money doesn't really matter. Cash in hand is as good as paper, piece of paper.
Right.
This Italian businessman, his entire family died. And you have seen the video of him jumping from the top of the building. He's a billionaire. So money really doesn't matter. Money is required, but money is not the end point. End point is others that you serve. For example, if it's a private company, it's the shareholders. If it's me, it's my citizens. If it's an NGO, it's your volunteers. What is that section of population that you're serving? That makes it complete composite nation or the world. That's how change and transformation happens. The moment you start focusing on the self, I think you don't deliver.
Such lovely and such valuable takeaways and thoughts, Dr. Santhosh. I'm sure, just as I am, all our viewers and friends and volunteers, specifically watching you speak right now, you're leaving something that we can mull over and think about and digest it and probably convert that into our day-to-day living, expectation-less life. And specifically, as you rightly said, only until a certain point in life it's about taking. Afterwards, it's all about giving. If we all can sort of take that as our approach towards all of our roles that we play, I think there can be phenomenal change, as you rightly said. Reading out a beautiful comment from Mr. Mike Muralidharan. You symbolized change.
I wish to thank Lata madam. I wish to thank Lata madam for those nice words for Poompuhar. Although we are still it's still a work in progress. The Chennai showroom, around 50 lakhs has been sanctioned, I think, now for making it better. So we're trying our best.
Yeah,
Thank
sure.
you for those.
Thanks goes to Kala. So she
Kala.
Yeah. So Mike's, I was just going to read this. You symbolize change is chance. Now we see, like in cricket, you seem to be converting even half chances. So that's a comment coming from Mr. Mike. I sort of have one more question to you, Dr. Santhosh. Very nice of you to have touched upon what Alert does, and likewise there are many NGOs doing phenomenal work in many spaces, right? Just as governing and leadership is so important, and bringing in governance from the other angle of you saying that you don't want citizens to actually come and apply for something which is probably rightfully theirs. But from the other end, what is the significant role that volunteerism can play? Community participation, kind of a thing that can enhance solving social problems. And it will be a lot of learning for NGOs like us, and of course specifically in our space, which is emergency care. You are a medical doctor, so you know the dearth and the need that is there in the effort that we need to take towards saving more lives, a number of lives being lost on roads to cardiac arrests and so on and so forth, right? But I think community participation becomes important. So your sort of thoughts on that?
So when I was collector of Shivaganga in 2003-4 and then Krishnagiri 2006 to 8, I created a force called Village Volunteer Force, VVF, Grama Tannaru Padai. So basically, it's, our villages are like this. There's BC villages, C villages, SC villages, ST village, hamlets in a village panchayat. So basically, we took one boy and one girl about the age of 18 from that, and there are 5 or 10 villages. We had 20 youngsters, and brought them under what's called the Mahalit Thittam Youth Group, so that they also get the advantage of revolving funds and economic activities, etc. By the time but at the same time, they'll also be frontline volunteers for us. Basically, the idea was to teach them three things. One is sanitation. Very mad about sanitation even before this the ban came. I'm talking 2003, 4 and all. I used to be in villages at 1 o'clock in the night, 2 o'clock, and 2 a.m. in the morning. Basically talk about sanitation. So the volunteers start talking about sanitation to the village hamlets, literacy, especially women literacy, then first aid. So these three things. We took 10 lakh rupees from UNICEF and trained all these volunteers in these three things. Basically, first aid, a lot of people die out of snake bite, then there's this golden hour for accidents and stuff like that. People don't know what to do. They just, look at people and then time is wasted. So all this were taught to them. And I did the same thing in Krishnagiri also. I had around 10,000 volunteers each in each district. Amazing. You won't even information. Forget the other things. I had an information which even the intelligence department would not have, because I would have first-hand information about what's happening in a particular village, what's happening in this area, that area. So I used to be a very super powerful collector in those days because I had information in hand. So in the law and order meeting, I would have more information than my SP or my special branch or my tahsildars, etc. So that is one way. So because you have a network of these volunteers. One. Two is like all the alert NGOs. So you're seeing a lot of the cyclones happen, the floods happen, etc. The problem I found with the volunteers is, I personally feel if I were Chennai Commissioner, I would have divided Chennai into a grid of 100 locations, and I put government and volunteer everywhere, so that you have more human resources working not across purposes, working together in the relief for the people. Unfortunately, Chennai Corporation has also done this, and the Revenue Department has also come out with a website for volunteers. So they have also done that a lot. I parallelly developed an app called Volunteer, VOLNDEAR. Currently, it's not working. I'm trying to revive it. It is developed by a committee. I keep developing apps. So this is the third or fourth app I've developed. Basically, the idea is to connect volunteers to the right thing. So it has two filters. On the app, a volunteer can join with the skills, government can join, private sector can join, NGO. It pretty much covers whole of humanity, whole of earth. And basically, it has two filters, an area filter and a skill filter. So let's say you want to organize a particular thing in a particular area. All you do is, so I say that I want to do a CPR camp in Vikravandi. So all you need to do is take the 5 kilometers in Vikravandi, and the volunteers with those things, to them alone, this will go as an in-app notification, and then you can start the process of the camp or whatever. So this is basically to try to, and I can do free. Please take it and use it, because I feel I have looked at the whole app world and I found NGOs have their own app. For example, you will have your own app, but across we are not having that kind of. And suddenly you want particular skilled people from different parts of the state or country, and you want all them to converge at a point. This is the app for it. And this have their own app. For example, across we are not having that kind of people from different parts of the state or country, and use the app for it. And this is almost like all the volunteers out there to bring in fast, quick changes without looking at protocols, etc. But if you align with government, and I'm sure government you will find it extremely difficult to work with initially, but once you have done that, you will find government means at one point the tahsildar or somebody point is a revenue inspector, or it will be a district collector, whatever it is. But once you establish that relationship, then it's a lifelong thing, and you can do work, amazing amount of work, and the first thing the collector will think about will be you, and establish that relationship. Generally, I find there is an adversarial relationship between NGOs, volunteers, and government. I think we need to bridge this gap, as it were, bring in volunteerism as part of governance itself. Because I do a lot of think tanks, and I bring in all volunteers, for example, from organic policy. Everything I brought people who had expertise in it. So hats off to young boys and girls who are doing this amazing amount of work. And now in COVID season, we are seeing the kind of risks that you have taken to reach out food, reach out necessities, training, taking our migrants and trying to send them off, etc. The amazing amount of work that's happening is. Now, one day I'd like to meet with all of you and just say thank you.
So thank you so much. Can you hear me, Dr. Santhosh?
Yeah, very much. I can hear you clear and loud.
Okay. Thank you so much. First of all, I think the appreciation from you means a lot to many volunteers who have been there. All the specifically during this COVID times as well. There's been a lot of front-ending and frontline warriors who have been volunteering their service and time. Thank you so much for that. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, Dr. Santhosh, there is, as we sort of get to as we're getting closer to 8 p.m., I have not like a rapid fire, but something more to rack your brains a little bit and get your first reactions to some questions that I have that I would love to ask you. This is probably a hypothetical question, but then here I go. Now, if you were to be alone on an island, and with probably you can go with 3 people with you, and probably you can carry three books with you, what would that be?
Obviously, my wife is very near me, so she would shout at me if I said I will not take her. So she'll be there, but President Obama is one person I want with me. Second would be Shashi Tharoor. And third person, let me think, could be a politician or could be a technologist, where we can talk much. But the books is Homo Deus, Homo Deus. I've read the Sapiens book by Hariri, a very intriguing book. To Serve with Love is a book which is very inspiring. I don't know whether you read it. Yeah, Braithwaite. It's very current because the black-white relationship in US, etc. That's very current. And To Serve with Love. And You Can Win by Shiv Khera. It's a very motivating book. It's a very simple book. But if you listen to him and spend time with him, all the books in the series are very, 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 very motivating because it keeps you going. So those are the people. President Obama, because he was fun when he was president. The whole world is missing him. Shashi Tharoor, because of he's an amazingly cerebral person. You could speak with him on anything on earth. I don't know how much I can vibe with him, but having read some of his books, I feel that he's amazing.
Beautiful. I'm very, very interesting to know. It's who would Dr. Santhosh Babu want to go? If he were to be going to an island all by himself. And also those books, dear viewers, if you've not checked out those books, if it had stuff in it that Dr. Santhosh is keeping them aside, then it's something that all of us probably will need to take a cue and read them. The next question, Dr. Santhosh, is what will Dr. Santhosh Babu of 2030, 10 years from now, want from Dr. Santhosh of the 2020, that is today?
Yeah. Interesting question. I would want me to remain the same person with humility, integrity, none of these compromises ever, and basically a happy, contented person. I don't want anything to change as of now.
Beautiful.
Life is good, happy, extremely contented. Only thing is, I want to see is a big transformation in Tamil Nadu, which I feel is possible because we have the best brains anywhere in the world inside Tamil Nadu. You don't need to scan for foreigners or consultants. We have some of the. You look at CK, speak with him. You speak with Mike Muralidharan. He's an amazing leader, a technologist plus academic. You look at Aruna Madam. All these people are so inspiring. Look at you, who is running. This is a chief executive of this organization, trustee of this organization. What's the kind of change you can bring? For example, when I was collector of Krishnagiri, I established a trauma care center. There was a leprosy hospital which was used, misused, abused, disused for many years, lying there on the roadside. Converted into a world-class trauma care center, where the organization from across the border came and established the trauma care center. So the kind of things that you can do with leaders and visionaries like you is amazing. But the problem is of potential. So this is something which I want to tell. I forgot actually. the idea should be to bring out the potential in each and every human being. We are living, walking, talking molecules of talent. You could, the poorest household, the poorest child, he or she has the potential to become a world-class citizen, but he or she doesn't have a circumstance. So that is a circumstance that you and I have, but we can't give it to them.
Right.
So that's where we have to make the difference. So today we have technology. So we keep talking about poverty. I keep saying, why should you look at poverty? Poverty is a negative construct. Why can't we say prosperity line? So, because, you know, if it's poverty line and you take it above the poverty line, something happens, he falls. Now, if you identify that he has a certain talent, family A, family B, family C in a village panchayat. Family A has a child who's running around, not studying much, but he's good in computers. Take him that way. Family B, nothing great happens, but the child sings a little. Take him to a music teacher or music school. Family C is somebody who is good at science. Take him in that. So that is the level of technology today we have. Thanks to the fiber net also coming into the villages, they will have 1,000 Mbps at each household level. Just imagine the amount of data that can come in, so that we can aggregate this data into analytics and look at each family as a resource, as a source of support, not look at the entire village panchayat or a one-size-fits-all policy. This is something which I feel very passionate about, because we are not looking at potential. We are saying, okay, give this to him, he'll be happy. I'm saying, don't give that to him. Find out what he wants, he wishes to. Take him in that route, and we'll have world-class citizens. It's not difficult at all. It's a question of data, and having the right data in the right hands, we can make a world of a difference.
So beautifully said. You know, there's we can pick a lot of pearls out of what you just expressed, Dr. Santhosh. I have a couple of more questions, and I'm going to request that we take these. In between, we lost some time with the technical glitch. So I'm taking the liberty, dear viewers. I'm very sure this is being a very engaging and interesting conversation, and we lost a time a little bit on the audio part. So we'll continue this for a few more minutes. So one question to you: if the world could transform by your one command or thought, just one command, and if you had the power that with that command or thought the world could transform, what would that be? What would that thought or command be from you?
Selflessness.
Beautiful. Okay. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I really also loved the spontaneity in your answer. And one more question. If there is one word that your entire life's learning can be summarized and given away, what would that be? That's something that we all can go to bed with tonight.
Passion for change.
Wow, beautiful. Passion for change. So dear viewers, that's something that we've got to go to bed with tonight. Passion for change, passion to change for better. And just the previous word, selflessness. There's so much to take in from what Dr. Santhosh has just given us a lot this evening. Dr. Santhosh, I also know.
Can I say something more?
Yes, please. Yes.
Can I say something more?
Yes.
You look at the room you're sitting in, or the room I'm sitting in. It's constructed by a poor mason, a kayal, etc. But the moment the building is completed, they have no access to it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And you look at our people who construct roads. The moment you lay the roads, they don't have a bicycle, but we have our vehicles to run on it. Look at our farmers. They give 2-3 spare meals a day, but they themselves are in penury. Or look at my artisans, they create such beautiful items, but they are in penury right now because of this COVID.
Right.
So who is actually cross-subsidizing your happiness? Our happiness is actually cross-subsidized by the poor. And it's our duty to ensure that their potential is realized. We don't just make them do a subliminal level of existence. They also have an existence which can be world-class, which we need to realize as leaders. And they will still do many of the works that you need to do. The West does it. A plumber walks in, he comes in a car. He doesn't trudge 100 kilometers and come and work with you. So we need to create a quality of life for our people. So when you talk about patriotism, continuous thing of loving your people across barriers. No barrier should prevent you, because you take out the people of your subcontinent. You can't love India, which is a landmass.
Right.
It is people. It's the people that matter. We should love them. The poorest of the poor. You've seen during the COVID season how our migrant workers have struggled and toiled to go back home. Right. And because they are not there now, look at how our roads are. Look at how our bridges are. things are in shambles. So essentially, we have to communicate this, that we love you as leaders, we want you, and we will ensure your life is changed within your generation, not in different generations. So that can be done by good leadership. Somebody like CK can do it. Somebody like somebody who thinks like that should join politics or do things like that.
So wonderful thoughts, passion for change, and not just as a thought, but I think you're laying out a roadmap for it as well. And we all have a role to play in it. And of course, the right kind of leaders who can lay the path ahead. So we really are looking for a very promising future ahead. But while conversations like this give us the hope, conversations like this give us the needed faith in our systems, the needed faith in it's possible. The fundamental faith that it is possible if we all put our right intent and effort forward. So I was going to ask you a small request, and I also see that as a comment in our Facebook live from Mr. Mike Muralidharan as well. There is another side of Dr. Santhosh that many would have known on, many probably would not have known about. But to whoever who does not know about it, Dr. Santhosh's other passion is music. Just as he touches lives through his work and governance, he also enjoys singing and music. So I'm going to make a request on everybody's behalf. If you could sing a few lines for us, Dr. Santhosh, that will be a phenomenal finish to this conversation.
Do you want to take that risk? My wife is already saying, no, don't do that. You've done so far so good. Keep it that way.
I see that as a request from Mr. Mike as well. So yes, I think everybody is wanting to hear you.
காலங்களில் அவள் வசந்தம், கலைகளிலே அவள் ஓவியம், மாதங்களில் அவள் மாதழி, மலர்களிலே அவள் மல்லிகை, காலங்களில் அவள் வசந்தம்.
So beautiful. Round of applause to you, and I'm sure all are clapping in front of their screens. I just did not realize how the last 60 minutes passed, and I see that these 60 minutes that you shared your thoughts were more seeds that need to germinate, and I'm very sure it would have left a lot of seeds in everybody's minds of people who have heard us listen to you today. I really cannot thank you enough on behalf of Alert, on behalf of all the viewers, all our volunteers. We look forward to your leadership more and more and your beautiful vision laying out in front of you. And we also would like to sort of say that we would love to contribute in whatever way possible in sort of beautifully taking these visions and these plans and the design that you are giving such a beautiful leadership to. So thank you so very much, Dr. Santhosh. It's been a total pleasure, an absolute pleasure having you with us this evening.
My privilege, Rajesh Trivedi, and I should thank you because you have this amazing smile on your face, which is so energizing, and you're able to capture what I say in so fast, etc. But you're able to capture the essence of it. You've been an entirely wonderful host. I would like to definitely meet up with you, get more inspired. Mike, sir, I don't need to say he's class by himself. CK, all the audience out there, I hope we can bring change. This COVID season, one thing which COVID is brought to you is it's a big level up. It doesn't matter who you are, what class you are, what level you are, etc. So basically, let's try and do the best for others who are struggling, who are less fortunate than us. So that's what we should be doing, and more consciously at that. So that's my essential message, because I feel that we keep talking about India as a country, as a third world. Now our Prime Minister, everybody is wanting to do massive work. So I think it's incumbent on all of us to contribute to that during our lifetimes, rather than saying, I could have done that, I could have done this, etc. Do it where you are.
So beautiful, so beautiful.
Have a great day.
Thank you so very much. You have a wonderful evening, Dr. Santhosh. Thank you so much for joining us. Dear viewers, thank you. I'm very sure we had a wonderful evening interacting with Dr. Santhosh. Such powerful thoughts, very inspirational thoughts, and the next 10-30 years, if we just get going doing some of these things, I think it's going to be a very, very promising future, and we have a role to play in it, in this entire journey of transformation. And we could not have asked for a better guest to talk about change other than Dr. Santhosh, who made his final thought saying passion for change is his one single message to all of us. So until we catch you the next time around, stay tuned, and we will come back. Stay safe, stay at home, and take all precautionary measures that we all need to, until we are told by the authorities, in terms of relaxation and stuff like that. So have a wonderful, wonderful evening, my dear friends, volunteers, viewers, and until we meet next time, thank you so very much. Namaste, vanakkam, and a very good evening to all of you.